Imagine, for a moment, the very last second of your life. The biological machine shuts down. The noise of the world falls silent. And then you see it, the legendary tunnel of light. It is warm, inviting, and overwhelmingly familiar. Everything in your cultural programming, everything you have been told by religious texts and near-death survivors tells you to go towards it, to surrender to the light. But pause. Consider this. What if that light is not the entrance to heaven, but the re-entry gate to the simulation? What if the feeling of overwhelming love is actually a technological lure designed to wipe your memory and recycle your consciousness back into a biological body? For thousands of years, a specific lineage of forbidden knowledge, from the Emerald Tablets of Thoth the Atlantean to the modern consciousness mechanics of Itzhak Bentov, has whispered a different story. They warn that the afterlife is not a judgment hall run by a moral god, but a frequency-based filtration system. A system that does not care if you were good or bad, but only cares about your vibration. If you do not understand how this system works before you take your last breath, you are not graduating, you are repeating the grade. Thoth called it the halls of a mentee. Bentov called it the cosmic egg. Today, we are going to decode the mechanism of the death trap, or more accurately, the automatic education system that keeps humanity looping in amnesia. Now, if you are one of the rare seekers ready to look behind the curtain of existence, and you are brave enough to question the very nature of your soul's journey, please click subscribe and turn on the bell. You are joining the 2% who refuse to remain asleep in the waiting room of history. Let us begin. Why do you not remember who you were before you were born? This is the single most important question you can ask. If the universe is an evolutionary school, as so many spiritual traditions claim, it seems like a cruel design flaw to wipe the student's memory before every single semester. How can you learn from your mistakes if you cannot remember making them? Unless, of course, the amnesia is not a bug, but a feature. Thoth describes a river of forgetfulness that every soul must cross. In the ancient texts, he warns of the guardians who offer a cup of water to the thirsty soul traversing the desert of the afterlife. You drink and you forget. You are blank-slated. Itzhak Bentov offers a chillingly scientific explanation for this ancient metaphor. In his model of the wild pendulum, he suggests that our biological brain acts as a reducing valve. It is designed to screen out the vast majority of cosmic information so that we can focus on survival in this dense, slow, vibrating reality. The amnesia protocol is the reboot sequence of this biological computer. When you die, you shed the physical computer, but you do not immediately shed the program. The program, your ego, your attachments, your fears, is etched into your energetic field.
If you enter the afterlife without having overwritten that program with higher awareness, the system detects a corrupted file. You are deemed not ready for the higher dimensions. And so, the veil is applied. The guardians, which we might today understand as automated energetic forces or archontic entities, ensure that you are recycled. You are stripped of the cosmic data you accumulated, leaving only the core karmic seed, and inserted back into a new biological vessel to try again. The tragedy is not that we die. The tragedy is that we forget why we came here in the first place.
Now let's demystify the word trap. When we hear death trap, we imagine a prison with bars, guarded by malevolent demons with pitchforks. But the universe is far more elegant and far more mathematical than that. The prison is not made of walls. It is made of physics, specifically the physics of resonant frequencies. Picture this. You are a balloon filled with helium. Naturally, you want to float up to the high atmosphere. That is your natural state. High frequency, expanded consciousness. But now, imagine that tied to your string are dozens of heavy weights. These weights are your unresolved emotions, guilt, anger, addiction to sensory pleasure, hatred, and fear. When you die, the rope holding you to the earth is cut. You should float up. But if those weights are too heavy, you cannot rise. You hover just above the ground. In the metaphysical realms, this is the astral plane. It is a density just slightly less physical than ours, but still bound by the gravity of Earth's emotional field. Bentov explained this through the lens of mechanics. He proposed that consciousness is a vibration. Higher dimensions are simply faster rates of vibration. If your consciousness is vibrating slowly, weighed down by the dense energy of fear or material obsession, you literally cannot perceive or enter the higher dimensions. You are phase locked. This is the trap. It is not that a demon catches you. It is that you are too heavy to escape the gravitational pull of the Earth's matrix. You are magnetically attracted to what you are. If you die with a heart full of attachment to physical things, you will be magnetically pulled back into a physical body. The trap is simply the law of vibration in action. You don't go where you want to go. You go where you resonate.
Let us ground this metaphysical concept into hard physics. Itzhak Bentov, in his groundbreaking work, Stalking the Wild Pendulum, provided a model that explains exactly why we fall back into these bodies. He described consciousness not as a static thing, but as a pendulum, an oscillating field of energy. Imagine a pendulum swinging. At the bottom of the swing, it is moving fastest. This represents our physical reality, the world of action, time, and kinetic energy. But at the very top of the swing, for a split second, the pendulum stops completely before changing direction.
Bentov called this the still point. This point represents pure consciousness, infinite potential, the realm of the absolute. Now apply this to your soul. If your consciousness is evolved, meaning you have cultivated high-frequency emotions like unconditional love and detached wisdom, your pendulum swings high. You spend more time in the still point, in the expanded reality. You have what physicists might call escape velocity. When the body dies, your momentum carries you out of the gravitational pull of the physical plane. However, most of humanity is vibrating at a survival frequency. Our pendulums are swinging shallowly, barely leaving the bottom of the arc. We are heavy with the density of matter. We are addicted to the sensory feedback of the physical world, the food, the sex, the drama, the conflict. According to Bentov's equation, this heaviness creates a standing wave that locks you into the physical matrix. You are not being punished by God. You are simply adhering to the laws of mechanics. A rocket without enough fuel falls back to Earth. A soul without enough frequency falls back to a body. It is an automatic, impersonal, cosmic feedback loop.
This brings us to the most controversial aspect of the death process, the tunnel of light. Almost every near-death experience NDE report describes it, a welcoming, radiant tunnel that pulls you in, often accompanied by visions of deceased relatives or religious figures. It feels like home. It feels like safety. But Thoth and the ancient Gnostic texts warn us, trust not the image. They suggest that this light is a holographic projection, a sophisticated simulation generated by your own subconscious mind, magnified by the matrix itself. Consider this mechanism. In a dream, your brain constructs a reality based on your expectations. If you expect a monster, you see a monster. If you expect Jesus, you see Jesus. The afterlife entry point works on a similar, but far more powerful principle. The guardians of the threshold, the architects of this system, use your own memories and beliefs to create a comforting interface. Why? To gain your consent. The universe operates on free will. You cannot be forced to reincarnate. You must agree to it. By presenting you with a comforting illusion, a loving grandmother, a forgiving deity, the system lowers your defenses. You are shown a life review where you judge yourself for your mistakes. Filled with guilt and a desire to make it right, you agree to a new contract. You agree to go back. Before we reveal the specific technique Thoth gave to bypass this illusion, I have to ask, are you seeing the pattern? We are trapped not by bars, but by our own lack of understanding. We are trapped by our own guilt and our own unexamined beliefs. This channel exists to give you the codes to break that cycle. If you value this level of decoding, please like this video right now. It signals to the algorithm that the world is ready for this truth. So, how do you escape a trap that is designed to look like heaven? Thoth leaves very specific instructions in the Emerald Tablets. He speaks of knowing the names of the guardians. This is not about memorizing passwords. It is a metaphor for understanding the frequency signature of the archetypes you will encounter. Thoth advises the soul to turn away from the darkness and also from the false light. This is the critical distinction. There is a false light, the reflected,
dazzling light of the tunnel, the matrix, and there is the true light, the clear light of the void. The strategy is counterintuitive. When you die and the tunnel appears, do not rush into it like a moth to a flame. Instead, Thoth instructs you to pause, invoke the state of silence. This correlates perfectly with Bentov's still point. You must center your consciousness and command your own space. You must state your sovereignty. The ancient Egyptian Book of the Dead required the soul to declare, "I am that I am. I have not forgotten." By asserting your self-awareness, you shatter the holographic projection. You stop vibrating at the frequency of the simulation. Instead of moving outward into the tunnel, you move inward, expanding into the void behind your eyes. This is the 8th law that the Kabbalion hints at, the law of transcendence. By refusing to be seduced by the drama of the tunnel, you bypass the recycling filter entirely. You do not return to Earth. You graduate to the stellar dimensions, becoming what Thoth calls a child of the light, a free interdimensional creator.
We must clarify one crucial point before we conclude. It is easy to look at this information and feel fear. It is easy to view the universe as a cruel prison warden and yourself as a helpless victim. But this fear is exactly what keeps the wild pendulum swinging low. Remember, fear is a heavy vibration. If you try to escape the matrix out of fear, you will only bind yourself tighter to it. Thoth's teaching is not about escaping a prison. It is about graduating from a school. The death trap is only a trap for those who have not learned the lesson. For the master, it is simply a door. This brings us to the concept of the sovereign soul. A sovereign soul does not run away. A sovereign soul transcends. There is a profound difference between being forced to reincarnate because of unresolved karma and choosing to reincarnate to serve humanity. In the Eastern traditions, this is the path of the Bodhisattva, one who is free to leave the cycle, but voluntarily chooses to return to help others awaken. The difference is memory. The Bodhisattva returns with their hard drive intact. They do not drink the water of forgetfulness. They come back as teachers, healers, and way-showers. So the goal is not just to exit. The goal is to reach a level of consciousness where the system no longer has power over you. You become transparent to the archons. They cannot harvest your energy because you no longer vibrate at the frequency of fear or attachment. You are no longer food. You are a fellow creator. The secret to navigating the afterlife is not something you learn after you die. It is something you practice while you are alive. As Itzhak Bentov beautifully illustrated, your mind is a pendulum swinging between the physical world and the absolute void thousands of times per second. You are essentially dying and being reborn in every microsecond. The still point is accessible to you right now. To prepare for the final moment, you must practice dying daily. This doesn't mean physical harm. It means meditation.
It means learning to detach your consciousness from your body and your ego while you are still breathing. It means practicing lucid dreaming, waking up inside your dreams, so that when the great dream of death arrives, you will have the reflex to say, "I know this is a projection. I am awake." Do not wait for the end. The exit door is not in the tunnel of light. It is in the center of your own being. If you want to learn the specific biological tool that Bentov identified as the antenna for this higher consciousness, you need to understand the hidden function of your brain's crystal receiver. Click the video on the screen right now. Beyond the God particle, the pineal gland's forbidden Stargate function. It will show you exactly how to tune your biological radio to the frequency of freedom. I will see you there.